Hello, everybody. Good morning still. And to some of you, I think very early morning. So welcome at this session where we're going to talk about creating and how to do it, how to create a brighter future for PhD students and postdocs in life sciences. So my name is Schaap-Oziemlak, and let me introduce first myself for people which are joining for the first time. This is already 10th session, but I hope you guys will really take a lot of lessons from here, inspirations, tips, and so on and so on. To a little bit shortly introduce my background, I did PhD in stem cells at Erasmus MC in Rotterdam in the Netherlands, followed by 4 postdocs actually in Netherlands, in Belgium, and in Poland. And then I got a really great idea that I want to develop my scientific projects, but not only. I want to also develop scientific project and build my team, which will compose of highly skilled PhDs. And therefore, I set up Bio-Inspired Think Tank. And why this name it is, why it's in Leiden Bioscience Park, which is, by the way, the biggest and the oldest biotech park in the Netherlands, you can see in my vlogs. So then you will get more insight into my startup and what is exactly I'm doing, but also why I got motivation to develop collaborative projects in agile way, but also why I developed coaching and I became agile coach, not only for team building, for collaborations, but also to advocate for PhDs and build in the future my team from highly skilled PhDs. So therefore I am here to also by bringing this channel, by empowering this channel. So please hit the subscribe button to join forces and let this channel grow so we can create more opportunities for brighter future for you guys, for PhD students, and for the postdocs in life sciences. And I think this is probably the introduction which I'd like to give. And during the last session, I was talking about bringing you career portraits for Karolinska Institute. So the research-led medical university in Sweden, in Stockholm, located, which you probably are very much all associated with Nobel Prize, because 50 professors from different disciplines which are originating from this university or working at this university are forming actually Nobel Prize Assembly, which is actually awarding a Nobel Prize in physiology or medicine. So that's something which I thought this would be great, because I received document showing different paths, and I thought this is great actually testimony and to give you inspirations. So I would like to move to it. But before I will move to it, I think this also gives you, room for your own ideas. Of course, I bring a lot of inspirations, but you can, take as much as this fits you, of course. And I hope that by making this kind of personalized, in a way, way of developing your own career, I can also help you here. I also do coaching to help transitions of postdocs or people from academia to industry. And I can also help you with that very much if you don't know where to start, because I think that's sometimes the biggest problem, where to start when you finish your PhD, you want to move to industry, and you want to pursue a career in industry, or you are finishing your last papers as a postdoc, and you don't have so much time for this transition to spend sometimes for planning, for designing it, for developing strategy, because that's what I also said in my previous session. This requires certain already knowledge how to move into the industry in smooth, in a way, relatively smooth way, how to perform such transition. So I think now it's a time that I would like to really present these testimonies, because I'm really excited about presenting these testimonies to you guys and showing you how career development or path of researchers originating from very prestigious university, Karolinska Institute, can look like. So starting from, I'd like to start from, and I will use sometimes blackboard, whiteboard, whiteboard to bring you some important lessons, but also names. So it's Ebba Solberg, the first person I like to talk about. And I will put later on the name, so if you would like to read more about her or maybe contact her through LinkedIn and get more insight in her career choices, how she actually developed her career, I think that can be possible. You can always ask people to join LinkedIn and ask also for career advice. So Ebba Solberg, she works as a project manager at Karolinska Institute, and she have taken, as she described herself, alternative track within academia as project coordinator in Karl Johan Malberg research group at the Center for Infectious Medicine of Karolinska Institute. And this research is focusing on immunotherapy with natural killer cells and includes clinical and company collaboration. So it's very collaborative in a way, industrial academic function. And her story started when she, if you can think about the story when it started, which I told you last time already, that having this PhD diploma, it's a starting point. Yes. And if you want to know more, why is that? Please come back to my last session to get more insight. So she finished her PhD in immunology at Stockholm University in 2013 and was heavily actually driven to continue, or very driven to continue with academic research, while at the same time starting actually her own private, in a way, family, but trying to find a balance between private and academic life. And luckily, as she describes, the core of NK research was not so far away, so she could secure postdoc position at Karolinska Institute in the Center for Infectious Medicine. And what she was telling, that indeed she really enjoyed the great research and cutting edge immunological, in a way, research which this lab represented in a way, or conducted. And during her postdoc years, this research was more and more growing. She became also more and more committed, and she wanted to move this research beyond fundamental studies, moving into preclinical and clinical research. So something which made her strongly motivated to stay there. And after talking with her PI, she been offered, and that was really great, a permanent position as a project coordinator. And this meant that from there so far was busy with, she's coordinating and managing research projects, performs experiments, analysis, data analysis, writes manuscripts. So it's sort of PI-like position with many tasks which she's taking, including supervision of PhD students and participation in leadership meeting. And what she said, which I really like to see, is that she very much enjoy management, project management, and she has still a lot of experimental joy, because she's in a way, as a project manager, which normally in companies happening only mainly at the computer, basically managing projects, she can still, in academic setting, is allowed to perform experiments. So that gives her this, I think, very great experimental fulfillment. And in that case, I think her career is interesting because there's not so many positions of academic project manager, which she's describing. And she got permanent position. So I think that's something which is very different from other universities, and still I think pretty rare. And as I said, she was very much motivated to stay in academic research by being driven by implementing it and bringing it to the clinical research phase. And importantly, she also enjoys collaborations with different partners, but also with including companies and hospital. And she said that this has been really fantastic, seeing many different people working towards the same goal, contributing their part of their greater good, as she said, and to develop great people skills, because that's definitely when you are project manager, you need to develop great interpersonal and communicating skills, so that you can communicate science not only to academic scientists, to biologists, to expert, but also to non-expert, especially when you work with different parties, with different companies, where not everybody is, for example, a biologist. So she gained as a project coordinator a lot of experience in tasks related to biobanking, ethics, and GMP also regulations. So she's definitely very happy with this position. And what I also like about her career portrait, that she loves to work hard, but also seeing other people working hard with passion and interacting with them and taking also help from others. And what I really like, she has sense of humor, but there is always something behind this, I think, in a tip which she's giving to you guys, and I think by bringing this testimony of her careers, making yourself indispensable doesn't hurt. So that's something about EBBA, and I hope that I'm pronouncing it well, but that's always something which the ones maybe guys which are joining from Sweden, please put it in the comments if you also have some questions related to this testimony. Because I know that in Karolinska, project manager, collaborative, it is possible to take such positions. So also for the ones which are residing or residents of other country in EU or outside of EU, you can also think, if you want to pursue your career abroad, I think that also can be option, that you can move to Sweden, to Karolinska Institute, and look for such positions. So that's something about EBBA. Now I will present to you testimony of some other person, and these testimonies are very different. So you can really see a very nice spectrum of possibilities. And this person here, which I'd like to talk about, is Per Nielsen. And Per is associate professor at Karolinska Institute. And he was his path was very different, because his path was more interdisciplinary, from civil engineering to, and you would be surprised, to principal investigator in Alzheimer's disease. And what I like particularly by presenting this career case or portrait or path to you is that this choice was very much influenced by personal situation, difficult situation in his family, because he lost his grandfather due to Alzheimer's disease or to Alzheimer's disease. And then he was questioning himself why especially I, don't have anything that could help these patients and how to do it to help these patients. So currently he's a group leader at the Division of Neurogeriatrics at the Department of Neurobiology at Karolinska Institute. And his research is focusing for those guys which think, hey, I like to actually maybe also continue my career and from this perspective, switching from engineering to PI. This is possible, and for many people, this might be seen that how can you actually how can you make such a change, right, from engineering to academic principal investigators? But this is possible, and I think that's also his testimony showing that this very out-of-the-box thinking, very interdisciplinary thinking can really change positively the way you plan your career, the way you develop your career path. So please always remember, that's also an important lesson to think out of the box regarding your career development. So his research is about studying Alzheimer's disease and autophagy, which is actually one of the main mechanisms responsible for cleaning, I would say, all the debris in the cells. And his group aims to better understand the role of autophagy, especially in the Alzheimer's disease. So he's sharing a lot of important moments, especially at very early beginning of his career, when he loved math, physics, chemistry, biology, and he decided to do this, to do his undergraduate studies in civil engineering, which was followed by postgraduate studies in molecular biotechnology, where he extensively studied basic biochemistry. And of course, like many young people, young researchers, junior researchers, he experienced difficult times during a very early career, and difficult in terms of he was wondering whether he would like to stay in academia or go to industry. And to see what happens, he actually decided just to try it. And I think that's also important, that many times we keep thinking, but sometimes we, as I always talk about, also agile way of learning, it's learning by doing, is good to simply do it and try some things. And he had a chance, because he was young enough, to apply for different positions and try it out. Probably this were also interns. He doesn't talk about this, but interns are important here, especially when you are academic researcher. I really strongly encourage you to, if there is possibility, to have interns in companies and experience this industrial environment before you move to it, to this particular company. And then he became more interested in conducting research in Alzheimer's, of course, because of this very personal reason. And even his background was very different, right? Civil engineering, what this has to do with biology. He was motivated, and that was very important, enough to change the field of his career and starting expanding his network. So expanding network, it's definitely important tip here. And maybe there will be more tips, so I'm going to put it here. So expanding your network in academia and outside and industry. So he got eventually positioned as a postdoc in Riken Institute in Japan. So that was a great change and challenge at the same time. And he found out this was definitely adventure which kicked in, and he found himself in Tokyo for living for 7 years. So that's quite nice experience, getting out of the comfort zone. So that's another thing. Moving to other country. Yeah, that's a learning experience. Getting out of your comfort zone, of your house, of your place, of your city. Doesn't have to be other country, can be other city. So during his postdoc, he started to work on Alzheimer disease and was involved in the work to develop a new generation of mouse models of Alzheimer disease. And while in Japan, of course, he missed, and that's maybe something for you guys which are thinking still about combining or still being in academic research. He missed several research grant applications for young researchers. But he told himself, well, I have to stop worrying and start looking for all possibilities. So I think it would be important to simply keep your eyes open. For all possibilities. And sorry for my writing. I'm still have this unfortunately type of writing which did affect was affected by a very quick test I had in the high school. 3 minutes, but I'm working on it. So I hope it's still visible, but I will keep paying attention here. So after he was in Japan, then he had idea, well, I want to also have good mentor, right? So these steps were not happening at all the time, at any, let's say, finding mentors, all these decisions and these developments of his career were happening step by step. But he found out that yes, finding mentor is important, and a role of the mentor is important. And that's what I already told you on the last session. Find mentors. So coming back, he didn't have so many possibilities to apply for grants. He got external funding, and this allowed him to get his research group at Karolinska Institute back. So it's very nice to see that Karolinska is actually supporting its alumni. And he said even he didn't have any published papers with his name as a last author, so as a principal investigator. He still could manage the situation, and he was not discouraged. And he later received funding, and that's how he developed his research from actually civil engineering education background. And he really enjoys being a group leader. That's important to see, that he said that actually life as a group leader is super fun, but at the same time super tough according to him. You have to like, and I think for those which have ambitions with working with people, especially when your social abilities are very limited, I think it's good to listen to Per what he said about being PI. You have to like working with people, have good communication skills, strong drive in what you do, find a way to inspire others, which I found particularly important here. Having patience also, and have a good scientific knowledge. Apart from it, despite the long working hours and challenges like financing, because you always have to think as a principal investigator about financing, to find new things is the biggest reward of his job. And I really like that he brings this fun element, because in science, not always, but also in industrial science, not always, or science, entrepreneurial science in industry, this is also sometimes forgotten. That element of having fun factor is sometimes one of the most essentials, right, to keep continuing and staying motivated. So I liked what he said about tips given to all the people which are thinking of how to develop their career. Try different things, check out different possibilities, and most importantly, do not feel that there's only one option. So that's something which I think you have to keep in mind, and that is for you. Be brave and start something that interests you, and then decide whether that is really what you want. But do not give up when you encounter the first bump on the road. And I think that's what it's many times happening when you don't get a research grant, or your job, for example, application is rejected. You right away start to think, am I good enough? Or am I suitable? And this motivation is actually going down. And I think in this moment, if you are a person which especially thinks very easily, is discouraged, please also contact me. You can find all the details. I can also help you to stay motivated in this coaching process, this coaching transition from academia to industry. So that's something about her I'd like to share with you. And maybe I will have now a little bit of my tea in my favorite cup with logo of my startup. So if you have already thinking like, yeah, I'm very quickly demotivated, I think Aneta could be really helpful here in developing this transition and career planning and coaching. Please contact me. You can find me on YouTube. About the channel, you can find my LinkedIn. You can connect and find me there. There's also a website given there. So it's very easy actually to get in touch with me. So now we are moving to the next person, which career portrait is also as much inspiring. And this person is Jessica Norbon. Jessica is a senior researcher at Karolinska Institute. And co-founder of Fortasana HB. Of Fortasana HB. So she definitely, as you can already, based on her function, she is a scientist entrepreneur, because she is also co-founded her company. So Jessica Norbom is investigating the regulation of skeletal muscle adaptation to exercise in humans. But what I really like about her, and she I think can be very great in a way person which an inspiring person, inspiring mentor. She's also a writer, supervisor, obviously, podcaster, personal trainer, teacher, public speaker, and which is important all for every lady which is here joining the session, or female scientist, mother. So she's multi, and she's also running her own company, which I already brought here. So I like when she talks about how to manage this time of multiple activities. And she's sharing that she spends actually around 30 to 50% of her time at Karolinska, and the rest of the time is focused on planning mainly all these activities related to also entrepreneurial activities. She's giving, if you are interested about talks, she's giving talks about training and health. And importantly, based on her profile, what you can see, she likes variation. Plus, as a co-founder, well, partially she's enjoying being her own boss. I think I also discovered this when I started my own startup, even performing collaborations with different universities and different companies and governmental organizations. That yes, this first month feeling your own boss gives you enormous energizing kick to do more and more, and even do more and more, and develop more and more within your company. So I agree with that. That feeling this feeling of being your own boss is great, but this also gives you a lot of responsibilities. And for me, it was giving great motivation to do even more things, to develop more things within my startup. And I really liked, related to co-founder function, that Jessica is talking that she was not alone at this path when this happened, and that's very good. That's also great motivation maybe for you guys which thinking about setting your own startup in life sciences. She met a colleague, a good friend. She was also actually former PhD colleague, and they decided to start together company. And it's important, I think, if you have such good co-founder, because it's very difficult to find good co-founder which is as driven, as motivated, as responsible. And it's not that he just losing motivation, he has motivation for 1 year, but he keeps having motivation and he keeps working hard. So it's important to hear from Jessica that it's good to be two. We support each other. We both felt the urge to do more than research, and we wanted to go out and spread the knowledge to the public, which I so much talk about, especially when you really want to make something meaningful in industry, some product, some service, build some prototype, which is really meaningful, or develop methodology to the public, meaning to the patients too. And well, they started Fortasana in 2013, and they pushed each other. And that's what I also liked, that you have a partner which is also motivating you, even pushing you to educate you, even to actually take even more classes to educate yourself. And especially they took courses in nutritional science, and Jessica became a personal trainer. So they didn't follow the same courses, But they also wrote 4 books, which I was really shocked about, and a podcast, which I think was very nice development of it, to give talks and lectures to the public, but also to researchers and medical staff about the effect, and that was really good to see that this effects of this training and the right food, is also impact of the right or healthy food or healthy diet on our health. And I really like her sense of humor too. As I told you, that's an important part in life and in business and in research. What she mentioned, that sometimes I wonder, will ever I have a real job? So she never really felt that this is real job. But after finishing, she was quite sure what to do, and she wanted to go to industry even. And then she got suddenly postdoc funding. She also got a chance, which is important. I told about this prestigious university because they give. I see that they give way more chances, way wider scope of possibilities to their students, and she got the chance, for example, to help establish the master's program in bio entrepreneurship at Karolinska Institute. And by doing this, I think, and being involved in establishing this program, she started to think about starting maybe something on her own with her colleague. And I really like when scientists are talking, academic scientists are talking about entrepreneurship. And importantly here, the spirit of entrepreneurship is still driving her. And sometimes, of course, there are moments which are difficult. But she said the hardest challenge for her was to set boundaries because she had so many ideas and would like to try all of them. So she tried to experiment on. And you understand, and that's something which I think you realize also. I can here agree fully with her when you have so many ideas, because after for postdoc, I had so many ideas for research grants, for collaboration, but you need to do it step by step. You have to develop also relationships. You have to develop particular niche within the business ecosystem, academic ecosystem. So you really need to find, first of all, this kind of frame before you develop content, scientific content and collaboration. So relationships go first before developing scientific content for collaboration. And there was, of course, a person which helped her. So she also had a mentor, and a mentor which gave her a chance to develop herself. And he's been an inspiration and support. So as I already said to you guys, it's important to have a mentor which gives you this support, which gives you this inspiration, which I think in the ideal situation, the mentor which is practitioner himself. So he has, for example, he holds academic position, and he already has, is also co-founder or has his own spin-off, for example. And he has been such in a way inspirational that this probably gave her what she also talks about, basics actually, or very foundation to develop and to write, because that's very different to write article or manuscript and write book. And a book strong throughout life is another book, one of the books which she wrote. And importantly for the tip, because I don't want to bring too much of the background, but I want to share the tips which she's giving, so that this session is very useful for you. Listen to your inner voice. And dare to be. And dare to do it. In other way, you could translate this to something which I'm always giving advice And this also happened during the interview, which I was asked for interview related to leadership, because you have to remember that Jessica portrait, career portrait, she also represents a leader, and she doesn't talk about this, but she is co-founder, so she's partially responsible for her own company. She's senior researcher, she's supervisor, so she also took leadership position in all these activities which she's performing within academia and outside of academia. And I always, when I was asked to give advice in this interview for my young colleagues related on leadership or listening to your inner voice, and I found this really important, and I will also talk about this later on in other vlogs. Dare to be, don't forget, so dare to be your own master with growth mindset. So don't think that you are a biologist and it's very difficult. If even you are a biologist, you are, for example, PhD student, it's very difficult for you to think out of the box, because growth mindset is also a way of PhD diploma is my starting point. I moved to industry, something unknown. I cannot even think how I should start, right? And that's why I'm doing coaching. But if you're a person which is still in the box, I call it, and it's very difficult to get out of it, which is learning how to acquire growth mindset. I'm also can very much help you in this process, because this is very important to really truly listen to your inner voice and dare to do it. Then we move to, because we can talk about a lot of projects and activities she did. However, I like to bring some tips which are important. I think one of the tips is to set boundaries. And even you know that you have many ideas, try to segregate it, prioritize things, because you will be not able to try them all. And in industry, when you talk about ideas, you talk about one project. You cannot talk about multiple projects with your investors, because then the investor or other senior business developer will find you not focused enough, and you have to bring focus to the projects to make it successful. So please never present to investor or business developer of other companies multiple projects, especially at the first meeting, because that can really, unfortunately, heavily affect your collaboration. So that's something which I think I would like to bring when I think about being scientist and entrepreneur and developing collaborations. And this tip, I think it's the golden tip of Jessica. So I'd like to move now to the other person. And we're going to get more and more, as you can see, presenting testimonies of researchers within academia towards industry. Now it's a time for me to have some sip of tea. And it's important, especially for people which want to join entrepreneurships at their own companies. You have to really save and spare your energy whenever you can. That's important lesson, because you're going to run the company. That's the whole idea, right? For many, many years. But also save your voice if you can, and drink a lot of hot tea or hot drinks, which I learned from my colleagues which are busy and very active in public speaking. So that's maybe as an important tip too. The next person, which testimony I would like to present, it's an associate professor at Karolinska Institute, pathologist, and co-founder of Schaap-Oziemlak Medical. And his name is Johan Hartman. So, professor of pathology, co-founder, Schaap-Oziemlak Medical. Yes. So, regarding Johan, I think he brought something which, again, is different. His career was mainly focused at the intersection of three different, as he said, yet connected worlds. So he works as a pathologist, he works as an academic researcher, as a principal investigator, and co-founder of a company. So pathologist, researcher, and co-founder. And of course, his career started when he got a medical degree, specializing as a pathologist in parallel to his PhD in molecular biology at Karolinska. So PhD, MD. And he works at Karolinska as a pathologist with breast cancer diagnosis, so very much responsible. He's a head of national expert group for breast pathology within Swedish Society of Pathology, writing guidelines for doctors on how to properly diagnose cancer. And for him, of course, integrating new technologies as a special co-founder while striving for reproducibility, which I think in science is always a big challenge, right? To keep things reproducible. This is very important in terms of developing these technologies, reproducible technologies across diagnostic lab. And he was associate professor at the head of translation research team at Karolinska Institute, focused on drug response of cancer patients and precision pathology. And during the recent years, he also became chief medical officer and co-founder of the company Schaap-Oziemlak Medical. So CMO. Importantly, this startup is artificial intelligence startup developing software to improve cancer diagnosis and is supported by Karolinska Institute Innovation. But his beginning as an entrepreneur, especially in financing, was not easy. Even he is originating and have worked for many years at Karolinska. His idea was not first right away approved by Karolinska Institute Innovation. And actually after 1.5 years ago, the innovation or people responsible for the innovative group finally believe in his idea. But now they are super excited. So also it's for every scientist, entrepreneur, which has idea to develop innovative product or innovation and don't also be discouraged right away. And his biggest achievements, as he speaks about himself, is going all the way from research to the patient. And I have to tell you that diagnostic in industry is undergoing very strong regulations, especially medical diagnostic. So everything is tightly regulated so that it is safe for the patient. And of course, he's developing software, and where the big role AI plays a role, especially when working with images. And in that case, this type of software can help doctors to make a final decision and support systems for the doctors. And for him, the biggest challenge was how to combine actually things to succeed and in a way stay in balance between pathologist, being pathologist, researcher, and co-founder. And he trained himself. I think this also required changing this kind of actually acquiring interdisciplinary mindset to be and pathologist and researcher and co-founder, exposed to industrial environment, to innovation, not just to academic research, which is very different from innovative research. And now he finds it very easy to switch between tasks in my mind, switch off and find time to rest. And I think it's important that he also brings element of taking a rest between all these different activities and building a strong network. And I like it from perspective of coach, because we keep working, right? We want to be, working hard means working long, and not necessarily. I applied agile type of management and working where I work efficiently and not very long hours. So with very high focus and a very high pace. Within 3-4 hours, you can do what normally you would think it's impossible and you need to really spend 8-9 hours. But that's different type of time management, and agile definitely helps here too. If you would like to hear about agile, please go back to my vlogs, especially very early vlogs when I talked about agile. What does it mean about agile team building? How is to work in agile environment, and why I developed together with other coach agile team building workshops to let people be exposed and work in this agile time frame, in this agile frame, and experience this agile environment. So I really like his advice here that you have to understand your limits and that you can't be expert in everything. So you need to search for help. And importantly, you have to believe in something. And it's important to find and identify a team, right? Even it's not your own team yet, collaborative team, and find the strengths and find how you can, use other team members' strengths to reach together the same goal, because you cannot do everything yourself. And of course, for startups, it's very much appreciated if you are a multitasker, especially at the beginning, because you can do a lot of things yourself. And I discovered also myself to be multitasker, and I've been always multitasker also as a postdoc. Especially when it was my 3rd, 4th postdoc, I discovered myself in multitasking, and I enjoy that. So, but of course, at the same time, it's important to look for colleagues for help, right? So, but multitasking can be also enjoyable if you like doing things and you are very creative. So multitasking definitely for early startups is very important, but also teamwork. Collaborative teamwork or your own teamwork. And there would be another portrait which I'd like to present, but I knew that it's better to spend some quality time and bringing some important lessons from all these portraits or this career testimonies to you, so that you can take the most of it. And also give you my own also tips associated with also presented testimonies, rather than go very quickly through all this career paths. And we have 7 minutes, so I think I'd like to bring one more. And I think this will be the last career portrait. And I found this particularly inspiring because this person is Sally Abdelmouti. She is a research project manager, drug development and Cancera AB. Research project manager at Cancera AB. So she works for a company. So she moved to academia compared to other testimonies. She moved out of academia. And she is also, not to be forgotten, PhD. Her path was very different. First of all, because after completing her master's degree in pharmacology and toxicology in Egypt, she's Egyptian, she had won a doctoral scholarship from Egyptian Ministry of Higher Education. And this scholarship allowed her to spend, provided funding for 2 years of research abroad and brought Sally to Department of Physiology and Pharmacology at Karolinska Institute. So all the way from Egypt, she moved to Sweden. And she comments that she have gained a lot of knowledge, but not only by running her projects in a different research setting, but also thanks to the vast choice of courses. And that's what I already told you at Karolinska Institute and prestigious institutes which are offered there. And I think that that's very big, a quite exceptional, I would say, environment to be exposed and given so many different opportunities in academic setting. But of course, what she said that she had several supervisors here in Sweden and Egypt, and was quite frustrating, as you can imagine, as they not always did share the same view on how to move the project forward and how to develop science. I think that's also, it's good to have few supervisors in terms of, I call it in brackets, backup supervisor. So when one supervisor cannot be there for you and you need his help, there's another one which is available. But too many supervisors can also bring chaos to research progress, to develop research lines or develop projects, because there might be that all different supervisors have completely different idea how to develop projects forward. But that was not the biggest setback point in that case of too many supervisors, but also finalizing project on the role of anti-inflammatory, and she worked in that case lipid mediators in models of persistent pain. Apparently, this work which she performed was outcompeted by a group from Harvard University, which was published in Nature Medicine. And that was very discouraging. That can happen if you have other competitive groups. In industry also, innovation is competitive. Some of your other startups or other companies can work exactly on the same type of innovation or product as much as you. So you have to be careful to share it. And that's what I also learned from, I also learned importantly where in academia was presenting my scientific data or my scientific achievements during oral presentations or poster presentations at international conferences. All the know-how everybody could ask me, and I was open to share it. In industry is very different. Right away, early from the beginning, you cannot bring any projects which are patentable, which you work on your website, and talk about this openly, because it's if you want to patent this data, if you want to publish this data, also as a company you can publish data, but you can also patent. depending what you're going to finally put your energy on. But in terms of patenting, publishing, you need to protect it early from the beginning, and you cannot talk about this. You cannot also bring any information about your projects on websites, so on publicly available websites. And also when you talk to investor, you need to be careful, especially at the beginning, how much you want to share about the project. Definitely not sharing how is important here. So for Sally, it was a difficult lesson because she was scooped. But she learned, she did extra work, and she could publish. So this showed also that you have to stay, even there are difficult moments of being scooped, you have to keep going. And then she wanted to continue her passion for science and state academia, and she moved, and that was great that she could get permanent position and continue as a postdoc in the same group. And she next 2 years work very hard and received several smaller grants, and she did, but she didn't manage enough to publish enough, and that's why she couldn't compete with others for a faculty position. And that's something which I already told you about, that around 0.5% of all PhDs will only become established, I would say, professors or professors, and 99.5% will have to develop alternatives careers within, and majority, I think I commented about that last time, outside of academia. So she knew that she cannot compete for faculty position, and that's why she decided to actually to develop different strategy and plan for alternative career path. And this time was in very intense of self-development, and she enrolled in several organizations to strengthen her skills, her soft skills. This was the Karolinska Institute Postdoc Association, so KIPA. So look always for postdocs associations, or create them if they are not yet there at your university. When she was selected as a secretary, worked on a team that aimed at improving working conditions for postdocs at Karolinska Institute. So she became sort of what I would call liaising service, career development strategy for postdocs, and coordinating professional events. She exercised her networking, management, and organization skills. So scientific liaison. And she, because of her also soft skills, she expanded her network outside of academia, and she became volunteer for Nordic Life Science Days, the largest Nordic conference dedicated to the life science industry. So taking all these initiatives broke this barrier of having fear and leaving academic comfort zone, and resulted in industrial contacts, which can be, which been so far, she was very satisfied. And she moved after to company, Cancera, that develops drugs against inflammatory diseases. So this industrial network definitely helped her. And this job is very diverse, because as a project coordinator, which I told you that's very different function with very different type of tasks between industry and academia. In company, as a project coordinator, she has responsibilities including creating project plans for preclinical studies, providing scientific support on the projects, reaching out and communicating with experts on the field and regulatory authorities, as well as creating industrial reports. So that's very different than previous testing which I told you about, that you can, I think that was Ebba, when she, as a project manager within academia, can do both project management and still research or experimental work. She can perform experimental work. In company, this is not anymore experimental research work. But that was important, I think, here, based on Sally, that she moved from this academic comfort zone, and stepped into industry. And she appreciates what she has learned, especially, and that's another important lesson which I'd like to bring for everybody which wants to move to industry. Having growth mindset, flexible mindset, agile mindset is very important. And that's what also Sally talked about, that she appreciated the applicability of my job and that the whole team works towards a well-defined goal, as well as the flexibility in finding solutions. So agile mindset, solution-driven. Flexible, adaptable. And what I really would like to bring here, that Sally also admits that working in a biotech company requires a specific set of skills. And what I like to bring, especially from her perspective, rigid people, translating to, I can translate as a coach, people with fixed mindset. Thinking only in one box, don't survive in industrial environment. You need to be open-minded. I could put it even here or here. Open-minded to not only yourself and to project, but to other people's opinion, and communicate in an honest but respectful way. If you are transitioning from academia, trust your abilities and stay open-minded. And accept you need to improve yourself on many, many levels, especially the soft levels or mindset level. And with this beautiful conclusion, having agile mindset, I'd like to thank you for listening. And thank you also to hit the like button and subscribing. So as I said, we can grow this channel stronger and create even more opportunities for creating this brighter future for PhD students and postdocs. And I hope that now everything is way more visible. And about agile mindset, there are also vlogs on it on my channel. So for those which are today for the first time, please go back to not lives but vlogs. What I think the vlogs are about agile, I explain there more in a way in detail. What does it mean agile? How we can experience agile. I talk about workshops, boot camps. So it's a lot of information there which are organized also as a coach, because being coach also, of course, gave me opportunity to develop collaborative coaching programs, but also agile coaching programs regarding team coaching, but also agile leadership coaching, right? Especially when you want to develop yourself as a leader later on in your startup. So I think that's something which I thought it's not only about agile mindset, but it's about agile team, working in agile team, cross-functional team, and also developing agile leadership. So yes, I think for today that would be the last piece of information I'd like to share with you. Stay connected, and see you next time at the next live session. And thank you for listening. And as I said, please hit the like button so more and more valuable content and useful content can be presented. So have a good day, everybody who were joining. Have a good day, and see you next time. Bye, and warm greetings from Leiden Bioscience Park. And I'm looking actually at the window. It's not raining. It's cloudy, little bit maybe sometimes are pieces of blue sky. So that's always a positive sign. And I'm looking forward to your questions. If you have questions, please put them in the chat box. I'm very happy to answer them. The ones which would like to contact me regarding coaching and transitioning from academia to industry, please also find information on my website or contact me through LinkedIn, and I'm happy here to help. So thanks a lot, and see you next time.